Okay, my friends, good morning everyone, and Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday morning as we are getting ready for the holiday of Sukkot. And my friends, guess what? We got great news. Not only is Sukkot coming, but Rabbi Bernstein came out with a book on the holiday. Take a look, my friends. Rabbi Bernstein on Sukkot. Really, really amazing things. Fantastic stuff. He had a little bit on Sukkot in his other book that was the High Holiday book. But here he added a lot more and really good stuff over here. So today, let's study together one of the essays from this great book of Rabbi Bernstein. Ah, woo, yeah. Okay, I could sense your excitement, just like I was excited when I got the book. So, and thank you, Rabbi Bragimov, for notifying me that he came out with a book on Sukkot just now. So really excited when I got it, and there's really good stuff in here. Let's begin, my friends. Today's class is sponsored anonymously for the Refuah Shlema of all of Am Yisrael. Amen. Here we go. Okay. Everyone ready? Everyone ready? Here we go. Let's begin. First we have, he wants to, in this essay particularly, he wants to share different ideas that we can learn from the laws of the dimensions of Sukkah. Okay? So first of all, anyone know how many walls does a sukkah need? How many walls does a sukkah need? Okay, minimum. If you said 4, incorrect. It could have 4, but it doesn't need 4. Okay, if you said 3, also incorrect. A sukkah needs, Gemara says, the Mishnah really says, it needs shalosh defanot, 3. But the Gemara explains that doesn't mean actually 3, it means 2 and a little bit. Amataim vatefach. 2 amot. An amma is like from here to here, is 1 amma. So 2 of these, okay, 2 of these, and then a little bit, a tefach. A tefach is 1 of these, okay? So 2 of these and 1 of these. Now watch what he says. He quotes the Arizal. The Arizal says that we could understand this based on the pasuk in Shir HaShirim. Shir HaShirim, my friends, a beautiful love story between us and Hashem. The pasuk says, Semolo tahat leroshi vimino tehabekeni. It's telling the love story between us and God. Semolo, his left, is under our head. Hashem's holding our head under his left hand. Vimino tehabekeni. And he's hugging us with his right. That's the way he loves us. He's loving us. He's holding us with the left, hugging us with the right. What a beautiful expression of love from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Arizal explains this is obviously much deeper. Semol, when we say God's left hand, what does that mean, left hand, right hand? That God doesn't have hands. But when we speak of God's left, it means his attribute of din, justice. Left is something that's tough. The language of the rabbis, small dohe. When you're tough with someone, you push them off with the left hand. The yamin mekarev, the right brings them back in. Right is an expression of love. Left is an expression of tough. Okay, tough and love, or tough love. Okay, so when Hashem is acting in a judgmental way, this refers to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. That's the word semolo. His left is under our head. That's on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. He's judging. But then enters the holiday of Sukkot. Vimino tehabekeni. And the holiday of Sukkot, he hugs us with his right hand. Right is chesed, right is kindness. That's why whenever you're holding a food for a blessing, you should hold it in the right hand, right? Whenever you are holding mitzvot, hold them in your right hand, right? Right is always more powerful when you're doing something, okay? If you're hitting your children, you should hit them with the right. No, I'm kidding. Okay, don't hit your children. Okay, that was just a joke. Okay, but either way, the right hand is chesed, kindness. Always preferable to do things with the right hand. So says the Arizal, we enter the holiday of Sukkot, and on Sukkot we feel Hashem's love for us. How we came this year, he gave us another year of life. We're confident that this year is going to be a good year, and he brings us into his shade. He protects us, and that is the Sukkah, my friends. And therefore, says the Arizal, look at the dimensions of the Sukkah, and you'll see Hashem's hug. Because how many walls does a Sukkah need? We said it needs 2 and a tefach. It needs two of these. If you look at it, 1, 2, and then a tefach. It's like Hashem hugging us. The Sukkah looks like a hug from Hashem. When you have the two walls, God says, come, let me protect you. I know you got scared on the high holidays. I was judging, but don't worry. I wasn't acting only as a melech, but more importantly, Avinu Malkenu. Hashem's our Father. He loves us and He only wants what's best for us. And therefore, when we go in the Sukkah, my friends, first and foremost is we got to feel the warmth of Hashem. We got to feel that cuddle. We got to feel like Hashem is giving us a kiss, a hug. Vimino tehabekeni. That is first and foremost something that we learn from the beautiful dimensions of the Sukkah. Another idea that we learn is from the materials that the schach is allowed to be made out of. We know that the walls, there's no rules on the walls. The walls can be attached to the ground. The walls can be there all year long. The walls can be made out of any material, metal or stone or clothing. The walls, there's no rules on the walls. The schach, all the rules are on the schach. The schach is really the main part of the sukkah. It's called sukkah from the word schach. Schach means to shade. Okay, so the main thing is the shade, and all of the whole thing is the shade, sitting in the shade. You have to make sure that there's shade. Okay, so the rules of halachot sukkah primarily apply to the schach. And one of the rules, what could you make schach out of? What are the requirements? Schach. Could I take a bunch of tissue boxes and put them on my schach and I'm sitting in shade? Could I go and get Spanish tiles, roofing over here, and put it on my head for shade? What about a nice big blanket? What are the rules for schach? So for schach, you have to have something very interesting. Psolet, goren, veyekev. The Gemara learns it has to be made out of psolet, goren, veyekev. What's left over from your vineyard, right, and your threshing floor. That means you have to use, first of all, something that grows from the ground, right? Grapes, wheat, they grow from the ground. But secondly, you can't use the actual wheat, you can't use the actual grapes. You have to use the psolet, what's left over, the husk, the shell, the thing that protects it. You have to use something that grows from the ground, but something that's not itself the actual fruit. It has to be secondary to the fruit, like leaves. Leaves protect the fruit, or branches, right? Something that's not the actual fruit. It's very interesting halacha, by the way. That means I can't take grapes and just use my grapes. I can't just hang a whole thing of grapes. No good. It has to be something other than the grapes. And what are we to learn from this second halacha? That it has to be something, not the fruit, but something that supports the fruit. That is, my friends, teaching us that in life, we have to make sure that we always remember that the physical things is not the main. The physical things are there, right, to support the spiritual. The same way I use leaves because they're there to support the fruit. We have to remember when we look up and we see the leaves, that the physical things of life are here to help only to support the spiritual. When I make the physical things the goal itself, when I make the goal of life money, when I make the goal of life pleasure, when I make the goal of life pursuits of physical things, then I'm missing the point. I have to remember that these things are only here to provide the fruit. They're here to assist the fruit. And therefore, when Hashem blesses us with physical things, we have to ask ourselves, how am I using this for something higher, for something greater? Really, when Hashem protected us in the desert, what did He use to protect us? Très bon, very good. He used clouds. Okay, He used clouds. Why did He use clouds? He could have protected us with anything. Really, think about it. He's God. He used clouds. Clouds have a heavenly spiritual element to them. When the Jews were in the desert for 40 years, they saw clouds, and they were constantly reminded that the goal of life is clouds. The goal of life is spiritual. The goal of life is to pursue heavenly pursuits, to chase not this world, but the next world. That is the goal, spirituality. When they saw the clouds, there was that daily reminder. That's why, by the way, the sukkah has to be something that's only temporary. We're reminding ourselves that this world is temporary, and I shouldn't get carried away on the insignificant things. I shouldn't let money get in the way of my family. I shouldn't let my career get in the way of my marriage. These things are secondary. Much more important are family values, Torah values, spirituality. And that's why Torah has to be a dirat arai. It's very interesting that the holiday of Sukkot, the holiday of, every holiday has another theme. Pesach is freedom. Shavuot is Torah. What's the theme of Sukkot? The theme of Sukkot, I mean, it's wild, but the answer is it's simha. The goal of Sukkot is not freedom, it's not Torah, it's simha. It's to be happy. The Torah writes by Pesach 0 times to be happy. It writes by Shavuot 1 time to be happy. It writes by Sukkot 3 times to be happy. Right? Right? It writes 3 times to be happy on this special holiday. On a simple level, the 3 holidays we know are a progression in the agricultural cycle. So as an example, the holiday of Pesach is Aviv, ripening of the fruits. Shavuot is Katzir, harvesting. And Sukkot is Asif, the gathering. So when they ripe, there's still work to be done. I'm not so happy. When they finally harvest, okay, now I'm a little happy. And when I bring him into my home, I get paid, I get the check, it's in my account, the pending cleared, right? Baruch Hashem, I'm very happy. So that's why, on a simple level, there's 3 simhas by the holiday of Sukkot. But maybe there's something a little bit deeper. True joy, my friends, true simcha comes not from things. People sometimes, they make money, they have things, they have pleasures, they have vacations, and they look at their lives and they feel like, what's going on? Why do I feel like empty? Why do I feel like just something's missing? Something's missing. And the truth is, the Torah is telling this to us. When we enter our sukkah, nothing wrong with having things. There's no sin. It's okay. If Hashem blessed you, beautiful, enjoy it. But that's not where simha is going to come from. Simha comes only from, actually, you want to be happy, the Torah says, leave your house. Realize that you can attain happiness without any of these things, without your mansion, without your car, without your helicopter. The Torah is telling us you can get it all without these things. You can get it in a little hut with 2.5 walls and some bamboo over your head and a plastic table. And you could achieve simha in here. Because joy comes not from things. Joy comes from growing, from accomplishing, from reaching and fulfilling my mission in life. When we speak to people, and we realize that there's that they have a lot of things, but there's something missing in their life. It's because they're missing this point. The Torah is trying to help us get to a place of simha. Torah says, realize simha comes not in the comfort of your home. Simha comes when you leave your home. Simha comes when you're helping other people. Simha comes when you're with friends and family around a plastic table. That's where real joy in life comes from. Really, the sukkah helps us see properly. In this world that we're in, sometimes we could get carried away. We could lose our focus, our priorities, our perspective. The word sukkah, by the way, you should know, Rabbeinu Bachya says, you know what sukkah means? Sukkah. We find the word sukkah. Anyone know where's the first place we find the word sukkah in the whole Torah? The word sukkah. If you said by Yaakov Avinu, incorrect. Good guess, but incorrect. Sukkah we find earlier than Yaakov, by his grandma. By his grandmother Sarah. What was her name? Yiska. Yiska, her other name was Yiska. Why was Sarah called Yiska? Shesochecha, she was able to see with her Ruach HaKodesh. The word Sukkah actually means to see. On Sukkot, my friends, we gain another perspective of life. We gain a certain level of clarity of what are we here for. Don't get carried away. Don't lose focus. Don't lose vision. Don't get stuck on the things. Don't get stuck on the new kitchen that you just built that your kids scratched the cabinetry. Don't get stuck on the floors that you just put in that already they have marks on them. Don't get caught up on the paint job that's already ruined. Don't get caught up on the furniture that's already scratched. Don't get caught up on these things. That's not where your simcha is going to come from. Of course, you should have a clean house. Of course, you should get furniture. Of course, the kids shouldn't, scratch them on purpose. But that's not where simcha comes from. A guy can have a beautiful home and he's sitting in it That's called a museum. No one move, no one touch. You want to live in a museum? What do you want to have? You want to have a museum? House, children. This is where simcha comes from. So when we enter a sukkah, a person's reminded of these beautiful things. Zman simhatenu. Really, I mean, Sukkot is, to remember these lessons in Sukkot, where God protected us. Really, when did God protect us in the desert? He protected us all year round. 40 years, all year, all day, every day. Why are we celebrating Sukkot now? Really, we should celebrate Sukkot in Pesach. When we left Egypt, we got the clouds right away. Right away, we got them in the holiday of Pesach, in Nisan time. We should sit in the Sukkah in Nisan. Why are we sitting in the Sukkah now? Many answers are given to this question. But I think based on what we're saying today, my friends, I think we have such a beautiful, simple answer. This time of the year is Hag HaAsif. It's when everyone's bringing in the money, the produce. This is payday. We need the lesson no more in the year than today. Right now, as a person's getting money, and he's getting blessed, and he's going to enjoy the money. But don't forget, the money is not what's going to give you your sense of simcha. Your joy in life is not going to come from there. So as you're bringing in the produce, go out into the field, go out into your hut, and remember, I have it and it's good, and Baruch Hashem, and I pray for things like this, and I need money to live, to be comfortable, to have a good life, an enjoyable life. I need money to pay for tuition, I need money to pay for, butcher and kosher meat, and forget it. Today you got to go on welfare for these things. But I shouldn't forget that that's not where my joy is going to come from. My joy is going to come only from the things that I have that are important, like my family, like my Judaism, like my religion, like my values. Okay? This is where simcha is going to come from. Also, another idea, we go out into the sukkah, is because, so much of the kabbalot that we made on Rosh Hashanah, we all made promises just 2 days ago, Yom Kippur. We made these promises, Hashem, this year I'm going to be. But so many of those promises are hard to really keep if we're in places and doing things that are not conducive to those kabbalot, right? Think about what you promised Hashem on Yom Kippur. I could guarantee you, probably 9 out of 10 people, those promises are easier to keep when you're in a sukkah. You understand? The things that we hold deep down, the person that we want to be, the best version of ourselves, right? Sukkot is something that helps us get our priorities straight. We go into a sukkah so that we can live up to our kabbalot. That is another idea. And one final idea, and then we'll end with this. A beautiful idea. I didn't say how long the idea is going to be. It's going to be a 45-minute idea. No, I'm kidding. Okay, one last idea. On the holiday of Sukkot, so we learned, just to recap, we learned from the 2.5 walls. Hashem's hugging us. We learned from the psolet, goren veyekev, from what it's allowed to be made out of. It can't be the actual fruit. It's got to be the thing that protects the fruit. Remember that physical things are here to protect and lead and provide the spiritual things. One more law. What's the maximum height that your sukkah can be? How tall? Is there a maximum? There is a maximum. How high? Okay, give it a couple of seconds. Anyone learn the first line of Masechet Sukkah, first Mishnah, first halacha of the whole Masechet? Sukkah shehi gevoa lemala me-20 ama pesula ורבי יהודה מכשיר ושאין הגבוהה 10 טפחים ושאין לה 3 גוונות ושחמתה מרובה מסילתה פסולה. Okay, this is the first Mishnah. I remember learning this in yeshiva, and I think I got it by heart. Okay, I think I got it. I didn't make a mistake as far as I'm concerned. But let me tell you the Mishnah. Okay, first line: Sukkah shehi gevoha. If a sukkah is taller than 20 amot, no good. 20 amot is around 30 feet. Okay. Amma is 1.5 feet, so 20 amot, 20 times 1.5, 30 feet if my math is correct, okay? So a person cannot sit in a sukkah that's taller than 30 feet, okay? If you're sitting in a very tall sukkah, no good, okay? Okay, got to be, most people don't have to run into that problem. But just, theoretically, why is a sukkah so tall no good? Why is it no good? So the Gemara says, because if it's taller than 30 feet, 20 amot, you're no longer sitting in the shade of the schach. You're probably sitting in the shade of the walls. You understand? What does that mean? That means, of course, every sukkah, even a regular size sukkah, if the sun's in the horizon, the wall's giving you the shade. But for the duration of the day, for most part of the day, right, for the chunk of the day, what's giving you shade? The schach. But if your sukkah is very, very, very tall, then the schach is not giving you the shade. The walls are giving you shade. The walls are what's providing shade for you all the way down 30 feet lower. Yes? If you ever go in the middle of Manhattan, skyscrapers, you're not going to get a lot of shade, right? You're not going to get a lot of sun. You're getting shade, but the shade's coming from the walls. So a person cannot sit in the shade of the walls. He has to sit in the shade of the schach. That's the point. The point is that the shade, it's not just that you have to have shade, is where's the shade coming from? The shade's coming from the schach, not from the walls that you put up. And listen to this. What a beautiful lesson, my friends, we learn from here. To understand this, and this is a chidush from Rav Yaakov Ettlinger. He is from the city of Halab. Okay, no kidding, he's not from Halab. Okay, Rav Yaakov Ettlinger from Ashkenazi, but he wrote an amazing book called Aruch Laner. Aruch Laner is a commentary on Masechet Sukkah. And to understand this, look what he says. He says something beautiful. We know, he takes us back to the story of Yosef. Remember Yosef, my friends? Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef was a very good guy, very loyal guy. He was in Egypt. His brother sold him, but no big deal. He stepped up and he was Yosef. He killed it. He was a legend. Unfortunately, one day his mistress, she tried to have her way with him and he passed the test. He didn't do anything, but she got afraid that he was going to squeal on her. So she squealed on him. She started yelling, victim, rape, right? You have to be careful today. Not every lady that yells, not every kid that yells, not every person that yells, are they right? Sometimes you have to just look into it, right? Potiphar, Eshet Potiphar, she was the first person to yell, I'm a victim, right? She was lying. She wasn't a victim. Yeah? Okay, it's a side point. But it's just interesting that was the case. So she ends up, they believe her, and they throw Yosef into jail. For how many years? They throw him into jail for 10 years. Yosef is in jail. But again, no matter, he's a tzaddik, he's crushing it, he's got emunah, he's a legend. After 10 years, Hashem gives him a volley. Hashem sets him up with a beautiful slam. What does he give? He gives him a butler of the king in his own prison. He sees the butler, he sees the baker, and then they have a dream that one of them is going to die and the other one's going to go free and back to becoming a butler. I mean, if you're Yosef, you prayed for this. Hashem, please give me an opportunity to get out. And then God gives you the opportunity. He sends you the butler your way. And what does Yosef do? He does what any one of us would do. He said to the butler, listen, Rohi, do me a favor. When you get out of here, please put in a good word to Paro. I'm a victim. I'm innocent. I didn't do anything. If you could just get me out of here. Hook a brother up. You know what I mean? And the butler says, of course, no problem. And how does the Parashat Vayeshev end? Butler goes back to being a butler of the king, and he forgets Yosef. End of Parasha. Next words, next week's Parasha, Vayhi Miket Shenatayim Yamim, and it was at the end of 2 years. 2 years later. And then Paro has a dream that no one knew how to interpret, and then the butler says, oh yeah, I remember in jail there was a kid, Joey, he helped me out there. Go call him, maybe he'll help you with your dream. And they get Yosef, and Yosef comes out of jail. And now rabbis say Yosef was punished for 2 years. 2 more years. 2 more years, right? He was punished for 2 years. Why? Why? Because he lacked bitachon. He put too much faith in the butler. The question everyone asks, what did you want him to do? He wasn't supposed to ask the butler for help. It's called in English due diligence. Hishtadlut. Isn't that what we're supposed to do in life? I mean, if a guy's sick, he shouldn't go to a doctor. He should just believe in Hashem. We don't believe in that. You got to go to a doctor. You got to do your due diligence. If a guy's in business, he shouldn't pick up the phone and make phone calls. He shouldn't go and meet a customer out for dinner or Midwest somewhere or wherever the guy wants. You got to go. You got to make a phone. You got to write emails. You got to do due diligence. You got to do hishtadlut. That's part of what Hashem wants. So Yosef asks the butler for help. Where's the crime? Here's a guy that can help me. What's the problem? Of course it's Hashem. But what? Why? Hashem wants me to do my part. Hashem wants me to use, the famous joke, right? Guy's drowning. He says, Hashem, help me, Hashem, help me. All of a sudden, a helicopter comes. Grab the rope. He says, no, I want Hashem. And then all of a sudden, a lifeboat comes. He says, come, give us your hand. No, I want Hashem. And then a guy in a jet ski comes. Give me a hand. I want Hashem. And the guy, he keeps declining all the help. He drowns, the guy dies, he goes up to Shamayim, and he finally comes in front of the courts and he says, Hashem, I prayed to you, why didn't you help me? And God said, I tried 3 times. Right? Hashem, he doesn't come down with his own hand, he sends messengers. So the butler was a messenger. Yosef, he shouldn't use the butler? Why was Yosef punished for 2 more years? This is the question that everybody asks. And I want to share with you today, really, a remarkable answer. I saw this question and I saw many answers to this question. This is what I'm about to share with you is probably my favorite answer. Okay, such a beautiful answer. He quotes a pasuk that we say in Birchat HaMazon. We turned it into a song. Baruch HaGever asher yiftach ba'Hashem ve'haya Hashem miftaho. Okay, what does that mean? Right, we sing it. Baruch HaGever asher yiftach ba'Hashem. Right, okay. So what does that mean? It means, blessed is the man, Baruch HaGever, blessed is the man, Asher yiftach b'Hashem, who trusts in Hashem, ve'haya Hashem yiftacho, and Hashem will be his security. Okay, it's a pasuk from Yirmiyahu. Blessed is the man that trusts in God, and Hashem is his trust. You right away notice the problem. It sounds like it's just repeating itself. You trust in Hashem, and Hashem is your trust. Same thing, no? What's the double expression? Ask this question on Shabbat, okay? When you're doing right before Birchat HaMazon, say, okay, I want to ask everyone a question. We're going to say this pasuk. What does it mean? No one's going to know, okay? And then you're going to know. Unless there was someone that listened to this class, they're going to know, and then you tell them, shh, this is my Dvar Torah, okay? You don't say anything. Okay? Fine. So here is what he says over here. Look at this. Very beautiful stuff. He says it's very possible for a person to have trust in Hashem, but at the very same time, that he has something else as his security. One more time. It's possible that I trust in Hashem, but I'm putting my trust in something else. What does that mean? A person could engage in a certain form of hishtadlut. And he knows that Hashem is ultimately the one sending down the bracha. But he's also limiting the pipeline through which Hashem is going to send it. That means certain times in life we have a certain career. And we believe that my bracha is going to come through this career. Or my bracha is going to come through this avenue. My bracha is going to come through this customer, through this person, through this buyer, through this vendor, through this store. And Hashem sends it, but we kind of, in our minds, know or we believe that it's got to come through here, or through there, through the other one. So we're believing in Hashem, but our security is in the store, or in this career, or in this vocation, or in this right? We have to have both. I got to believe that it's Hashem, and I got to believe that He'll send it however He wants. He wants to send it this, He wants to send it that. A lot of times in the middle of our lives, we hit a midlife crisis. Sometimes we hit a bump in the road, right? We realize that the way things were going, the business world is changing, it's not going to work. We start getting nervous. How am I going to make money? But to have Hashem miftacho means that I believe not only will Hashem send it, but He'll send it however. So till now He sent it this way. I change my career, He'll send it the other way. I don't have to limit Hashem. When I limit God, when I say, God, you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. So I believe it's Hashem, but I'm limiting Him. I have to have Hashem, Yiftach b'Hashem, and Hashem Yiftacho. You understand? What a beautiful idea. So Yosef, of course, he believed in Hashem. But in a little bit way, he limited. He thought, He's going to help me through the butler. You're confident it's the butler? You could do your hishtadlut. You should do your due diligence. But do you know it's the butler? And Yosef, on his level, he knew it's Hashem, but he got caught up in the butler. And he knew it's going to come from Hashem through the butler. And Hashem said, look, it didn't even come through the butler. It ended up coming through Paro having a bad dream and a different dream. You thought it's going to come through this dream, it's going to come from a different dream. So always in life, we have to have two things. We have to believe in Hashem, but we also have to have our security in Hashem. And any avenue that He chooses, He could send me my bracha. This lesson, my friends, we learned from Sukkah. How high are the walls allowed to be? We said the walls cannot be more than 20 amot. Why? Because if they're more than 20, then my shade is no longer coming from the schach. My shade is coming from the walls that I built. And the lesson is that in life we have to remember that our shade, our parnasa, our bracha can never come from the walls that we built. Of course we have to build them, but ultimately a person has to have the bitachon that the shade is coming from Hashem. Not only from Hashem, but even the avenue that He will choose. Never through the avenue that I thought. It can never come from the walls, from the place that I thought it's going to come. It's going to come strictly from His shade, from His sukkah. So my friends, these are a few, 3, 4 amazing lessons that we learn just from the dimensions, just from the materials the sukkah is supposed to be built from, and we be zocheh to implement all of these values in our day-to-day lives. Amen. We'll stop over here. Have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.